Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and I have a very special guest in studio with me. I have Representative Tracy Kraft-Tharp, better known as TKT, down at the Capitol, and we are talking legislative session. We're talking about some Senate bills here, particularly ones around Colorado sales tax, as well as a little bit later in this interview, we're going to talk about the government shutdown. But before we get there, how are you doing?
Doing good. 2 weeks in, tired, revved, lots of exciting things happening.
Yes, absolutely. Lots of exciting things happening, and I'm excited to get into that. But before we do that, you have been on the show previously. You joined Kelly Sloan and Tony Gagliardi to talk about the Simplify Colorado sales tax.
Right.
Which is something that you're very passionate about, and it impacts every single Coloradan. So before we do that, before we get into those bills, let's talk about your background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I come from a background of being a social worker, worked with at-risk kids, worked with at-risk families, and ran a treatment center for troubled adolescents and ran a battered women's shelter. So out of that, I went to law school, have always been very involved in politics. And so when my seat became open, I ran for it and won.
Wonderful. And that was in 2012.
Right.
Yes. So talk me through the transition. What was it that inspired you to get into politics? I imagine working in those fields, you saw a lot of red tape and wanted to work from the inside, but...
Absolutely, absolutely. So I never thought I wanted to get involved in politics. I was always a policy person. For me, it was about making change within the system by working within the system. So while I may have seen a lot of red tape and regulations, it was about getting involved in the system and how can we make changes, how can we make things better for people. So in that time period, I was also my own small business person. So really had that experience of supporting myself. The work that I did supported myself. You didn't work, you didn't have money to support yourself. So all of that kind of gave me, an experience of what do I want to change and how do I want to change it. So policy's always been what I've been interested in. Never thought I'd run for office. Was actually approached by Rupp Bridges, who ran for governor, and he suggested to me that I go to a leadership training program first, which I did. I went to the White House Project, where they basically talk to you about running for office, and they invite you to do so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I bet that was a rewarding experience, to say the least.
Yes, it was interesting. It's an interesting transition from being a person that sees yourself in the background to actually being the person in the foreground, making the change and doing the work.
Absolutely. I want to run this by you. It's going to sound a little harsh, but there's always been, I think people think that there's this fallacy of, well, I want to change the system within the system, and then lots of people get in the system and then get lost.
Yes.
Yes. I don't think that's true in your case. They've seen a lot of changes that you've implemented and have gone very well. But do you think there is some truth to that?
I think there is some truth to that. I think that everybody looks at making change different. Some people like to barrel the door down. Some people like to get in the door and then make the changes inside. I'm always the kind of person, I'm not a door barreler. I'm a person that, I'm a connector. I make relationships. And through those relationships, how can we motivate people to make change?
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a great way to do it as well. That, some people that barrel down doors don't always have yes people with them.
Right, right.
So let's talk about the legislative session right now. You mentioned that you're tired. It's only 2 weeks in.
I know.
But you guys have had a lot covered. So how's that going for you at the moment?
So it's going well. We're really, we've done a lot of ceremonial pieces. So we've listened to the governor come in and talk. We've listened to the judiciary branch come in. Within my committee, I'm the chair of the Business Affairs and Labor Committee. We've had, like this morning, Betsy Markey, who's the new director of the Office of Economic Development. She came in and talked with us. So it's a lot of prep work. We're ready to jump in on Wednesday. We've got 3 bills we're hearing, and
Yeah.
Time to get some work done.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about this. How is it, is the legislative session different between election years?
So you'll hear different, I think, from everybody else. For me, I've always been the kind of person that finds the middle ground and pulls in both Republicans and Democrats. So I'm not doing it any different this session. And I think other people will give you another experience. But for me, that is what works. That's what I believe in. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, Colorado's notoriously been purple
Right.
before this year.
Right.
We obviously went blue, and nothing wrong with that. I think we're going to see some interesting things, and hopefully everyone can work across the aisle together.
Absolutely. You know, it is an opportunity, I believe, with the Democrats being in control of the House, the Senate, and the governor, to be able to move forward on some progressive issues. I think we just need to be careful as we're moving forward in those progressive issues, in that we can't do everything all at the same time. That would be totally overwhelming. And we need to make sure that we're working with all the different communities, whether that's the business community, the disability community. I mean, each community, we need to come together and find that middle ground, find that pathway, and not just barrel in and say, okay, these are all the new things we're going to do. But it is an opportunity to make some progress around some progressive issues, to make sure workers are okay and that we have good, solid jobs for Coloradans. I mean, that's important.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100% as a Colorado Business Roundtable representative.
Absolutely.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. So let's talk about, you mentioned some progressive issues. What are you hoping to see that we make progress on?
So I do think that this is a year that we can move forward on family medical leave. I think that the proposal that we currently have, I think, needs to be vetted clearly by the business community. Both small businesses and large are doing family medical leave policies right now, and let's take the best of their ideas and let's put those together. But it is an opportunity to make sure that all of our workers have the availability. When you're sick, you don't have to come to work. When your mother is sick, you could go take care of her. We want to make sure that happens. So I think it's the availability to move forward on that. I think we have the availability to move forward on things like pay equity. But all of these policies need to be policies that we're working closely with the business community and not in a partnership around how can we make sure that our workers are happy, functional, because happy, functional workers make better workers, makes better jobs, businesses succeed. So I think we all have the same goals in mind.
What a crazy concept that a happy worker is a good worker.
Right, yes.
So let's talk about a few of the bills that you have your signature on and we're looking at. Again, I did mention that you have quite a few when it comes to small business, or not small business, when it comes to sales tax.
Right.
Again, that is Colorado's the most complicated state sales tax. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit. You have a really cool one here that I think is interesting, and it's Senate Bill 23, cryptocurrency exemption. So we don't have a whole lot of legislation around cryptocurrency. I know that it's one that DORA, Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies, works on pretty stringently, and they are trying to come up with some good regulation around it, but it's still not tangible enough yet, I think. But tell me about this Senate bill.
So there were a couple bills that were introduced last year that didn't necessarily make it through. I think everybody was confused around what is cryptocurrency, what is blockchain, where do we want to go in the state. So we need to take a step back. So the governor, Hickenlooper, the governor formed a commission that I sit on, along with some other legislators, pulled together the most innovative, creative people in Colorado. I mean, these meetings are amazing because these people are like creativity at its best. And we spent the summer and the fall really talking about, so what is cryptocurrency? How can it be used for? What is blockchain? How should Colorado regulate? How should Colorado regulate? And that's this bill, Senate Bill 23. And what this bill actually does is it starts to introduce the concept into our state law, and how much is cryptocurrency viewed as a securities, and therefore needs to be in that regulatory scheme versus not a securities. Therefore, it doesn't need all that regulatory scheme. So it's a first step. It's a little teeny step, but it's a step that Colorado needs to take.
It's a step nonetheless.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Let's move on to House Bill 1044. This is one of my favorites, actually. This one is about advancing behavioral health orders treatment.
Okay.
And mental health is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Clearly, it's a field you were in a little bit.
Right.
So let's talk about that and what exactly that entails.
Absolutely. So I am a licensed clinical social worker. I worked in the mental health field for 20-some years, a long time. And so every year I try to do at least one bill helping in the mental health system, and this year I actually have a couple. So what this does is it allows people in Colorado to put together an advanced medical directive. So you're familiar with this in the medical field, where it says, do not resuscitate. It's similar to that. So what this will do is it will allow someone to be able to say, this is what happens for me when I'm having a mental health crisis. This is what I look like. This is what I'm experiencing, and this is what helps me be able to work that through. So it helps people to be able to express those wishes so that then when they are in that crisis, then all the professionals that are helping them know. So for example, somebody might want to put in there, when I'm having a mental health crisis, I tend to pace a lot.
Okay.
And it helps me be able to steady out, but if I'm pacing back, forth, that's when I'm experiencing a mental health crisis. What helps me is Valium. It does not help. The antipsychotic drugs do not help me. Who would know that? Nobody would know that. You're not in a place to be able to share that. But in this record, which would be electronic, you can share that with all the professionals helping.
I love that idea. I think a lot of people, at least you read more about it, the anxiety, and when people have panic attacks.
Right.
Right? A lot of people need to rock back and forth.
Right.
That's a symptom you see.
Right.
And to know that I can say, you know what, the antipsychotic drugs just drown me out, and I can't even get the help I need from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just let me rock back and forth. That's
Right.
all I need. Maybe I need half a Valium, or not even medication, right? Maybe I just need someone to rub my back.
Right. Well, exactly. One of the strengths of our mental health system here in Colorado is that we really value the consumer voice, and in everything that we do. And this is an important way to be able to bring the voice of the person who is experiencing that into how we best help them.
Awesome. Well, I for sure hope that one passes.
Thank you. Me too.
Yes, I'm sure you hope all of them do, but that one's personal favorite.
Right.
So going on, we have House Bill 1088, and this is to include career and technical education in the Building Excellent Schools Today program. So tell me about that. That sounds very wordy, but I don't think it's that.
It's not. It's Let's Bring Shop Class Back to School.
Okay.
Right. So this has been something that's near and dear to my heart. I come from a Minnesota construction family. I get the concept of the trades and why it's important. 50% of the XL workforce will be retiring within the next 5 years. That's startling. We need to replace that workforce. We need people. We've done such an amazing job of encouraging kids to go to college that we don't have kids going into the plumbing business, into electrician, HVAC, but we need those people. I mean, what would we do every day?
Exactly. I need a plumber.
Right.
If you have pipes in your home, you need a plumber.
Exactly. So in the past couple of years, I've been part of a group of legislators that we really have been passing policy around encouraging schools to encourage kids to go into these trades, including the development of apprenticeship programs. But one piece that's missing that our schools have identified is they don't have the resources to be able to bring shop class back. So this allows schools to be able to apply for funds to be able to bring that equipment that they need in the school, so we're actually hands-on in the school.
That's amazing. And you know what? I was fortunate enough. I think I was one of probably the last generations to have access to a shop class, but we did one semester with home ec and one semester with shop. And I have to tell you, I learned the majority of my life skills from those courses.
Good for you.
Yes. I learned a lot in both of those.
Good for
and
you.
It's not just cooking.
Right.
And one of the things that we do here at the Colorado Business Roundtable is we're very passionate about workforce development.
Right.
And that does include careers that are not necessarily based in getting a degree.
Right.
There are plenty of options out there with just a certificate, 6-week course, what have you, and they're really good money, and I think that's underplayed way too much.
Exactly. So you can be a plumber, you can be an electrician. Those are the examples that I think we best use. You can work in construction, and you can support a family and have a solid career your whole life in those areas.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
Absolutely.
All right. And this last bill that we're going to get into before we get into the big one is the HB House Bill 1063. It's at-risk information sharing between county departments. So this one was the tough one for me when I looked it up, but you clarified it for me on the break. So let's clarify it for our audience here.
Okay. So this is about somebody who's been involved in the Child Protective Services. They are now an at-risk adult in the Adult Protective Services system. All this does is say two things. One is, as an adult, you can get a copy of your file. Oh, now that's common sense.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to go to court to get it. You can have a copy of your file. The other is that the county worker can look at the information in the files to the Child Protective Services and Adult Protective. It's about continuity of services. It's about making sure that people don't have to start services all over again and do evaluations all over again, making it, an easier transition for everybody.
I guess I didn't realize that they were separated anyway from...
Yeah.
That's
and
just
it makes
annoying.
it really hard in the rural areas where it's oftentimes the same person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, part of it is to be able to protect those people, to say, we know you're looking at both files. It's okay. You need to do that for your work purposes.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, hopefully that one also, hopefully they all get passed.
Hopefully they all get passed.
But those two, I think, that one and the advanced behavioral health, I think, make life easier for a lot of people.
Right.
So let's get down to business. We're talking Colorado sales tax. Again, we mentioned that it is one of the most convoluted, if not the most convoluted in the states. And so you have several bills projected towards simplifying this tax. Let's talk about those.
Absolutely. So all the things that we hold dear here in Colorado, being able to local control, that we want our local communities to make the decisions that's best for those people unique in that community. We don't want the state telling us what to do. We want to pass our own taxes. So we want to make that decision ourselves. All those things that we hold dear come together and create like the perfect storm. And so part of what's happened is we have about around 750 taxing districts. So exactly. So for a business, that is extremely difficult to be able to comply and to be able to do what you need to do. So that's one area. The next is that this, the other is that this last summer, the United States Supreme Court said that that states can collect sales tax from internet sites. So that's good because that's fair to our brick and mortar stores. So as of December 1st, our Department of Revenue has started to collect sales tax from our internet sites. Now, mind you, it's not going to cost you any more because you were supposed to be sending your money in at the end of the year. I know you did. I know you did.
Of course I did.
Of course, yes. So 2 years ago, we passed a law saying we need to do something about this convoluted, complicated system. So we put together a commission, so the Sales and Use Tax Simplification Task Force, and I'm the chair of that, along with some other legislators, folks from the local communities, and a representation from the business community. So we were able to find a sweet spot of something we think that will be very helpful, and that is Senate Bill 6. So it's a one-stop portal where there'll be a one-stop for people to remit their sales tax, one stop to be able to go on to find all your sales tax licenses, and one stop to be able, it's an address locator to find out what's all the taxing districts in that area. that bill is being heard in committee. We think that it will be successful and we'll move that forward.
I am guessing that one will be successful because it impacts everyone, first of all, and your business leaders specifically, or your business owners specifically, which are the driving force in Colorado community.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to jump here a little bit in these last few minutes, and we'll tone down from Senate bills, and besides those bills getting passed, what are your projections for House District 29, which is your district? What are you hoping to accomplish in 2019?
So I'm from Arvada, Westminster, and it's a great district. It's a working class district. They sent me to the legislature to get things done. They don't want talk. And so they are interested in issues like the sales and use tax. Let's do things to make life better for everyday folks.
Yes. Absolutely. And I'm going to switch gears one more time, and let's talk about, as we mentioned, this was an election year, so we have a new governor, Governor Jared Polis. And how's it been these 3 weeks so far working with him, and what are you hoping to accomplish under this new governorship?
So it's very exciting. I've known Jared for a long time. Before I could call him Jared, now I think I have to call him governor. That will be the transition. But I've known him for a long time because he has, as a congressman, he's represented some of Jefferson County, so he's represented that area that I'm from. What's exciting is that he's got a vision, and he knows what he wants to accomplish. And that is very exciting. It's very contagious. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's always nice to work with somebody who's inspiring, and I imagine that he is.
Yes.
So what would you say would be the major difference between working under him versus Governor Hickenlooper?
So right now, I think that Jared is very hands-on policy-wise, and Governor Hickenlooper was interested in policy but was not necessarily so hands-on.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. All right. I like that answer.
There's a story already, all the stories that, rumble through the Capitol, of some people that went down to the governor's office for a meeting, and they're sitting in an office meeting with staff, and Governor Polis comes walking in and sits down and participates in the conversation.
That's amazing.
It's like, wow.
Good to know.
Yes.
Good to know. He is a hands-on guy.
He's a hands-on guy.
We're going to get some stuff done.
We are.
So tell me, big news, right? Government shutdown. So it's obviously taking a toll on a lot of people. This is the longest in history that we are having. And just because there is a national shutdown doesn't necessarily mean that states are shut down. But you shared with me an interesting story about people coming together. If you don't mind sharing that with our audience.
I don't mind at all. And I think what people don't realize is, yes, it's a shutdown in D.C., and there's, I think, 15,000 people in Colorado that it's affecting. But it's affecting even more people than that. So my friend is the acting director of the Colorado Department of Human Services. So she pulled together a group of probably about 50, 60 workers at the Department of Human Services. They came in, volunteered their time, came in on a Saturday and Sunday, and made phone calls to people who are recipients of food assistance to tell them that their paperwork needed to be turned in early this month, and that probably their February check might have to last a little bit longer. But these are people that could very easily have said, no, it's not my department, it's not my issue, I'm not interested. But they came in on a Saturday, they came in on a Sunday and made phone calls. I think that's caring, and I think that's really going up and beyond.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's one of those, as I told you before we got started on the show here, I'm losing a lot of faith in humanity, and it continues to dwindle daily. But hearing stories like that,
it's there.
It helps me keep my faith in people to make sure that we get over this hump. And any other thoughts about the shutdown and maybe what people can do or hope they can receive?
So, I'm feeling for the workers both the people that are working without getting paid, but the people who aren't working and who are not getting paid. And I think as much as we can do to help them. So my Congressman Perlmutter, has free breakfast and lunch in his office for anyone who's a federal worker. I think there's a lot of people right now that are coming forth and saying, I want to help. This is not okay, I want to help.
That's awesome. So thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
Yes, and you have a wonderful day.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Connect and Collaborate today. Be sure to like and subscribe our YouTube page. You can find more information about Representative Tracy Kraft-Tharp on our webpage at cobrt.com/radio-podcast. Thank you so much. Have a great day.